front windshield. Grabbed it from the hanger, kind of dusted it off a little bit. Haven't even torn the tape off of here. You got a little notch on that side, notch on that side. I put a couple random rivets in these locations. 2, 3, 4, 5, and another 5 on the other side. So a total of 10 to hold this guy down, and I was able to use clecos in the front because the windshield won't touch these clecos up here. Well, to cut this top part, I'm trying to notch it out, trying to get a good angle to notch that out. You can see I got a blue line, just kind of marking a rough radius on there. All right, after my first cut, this is at least kind of fit around that tube. I do need to cut it off some more down here below because it is touching the bottom of that tube. Top part don't look too bad. Definitely needs to come in a little bit more that way, going that way. Pilot side, again, a little bit more off of this, not much, a little bit more off the bottom. Looks pretty good across the top there. As you can see, you're definitely gonna have more overhang on this side than you do the other side. Passenger side, I don't think we're even there yet. Well, we're getting close actually. Not quite there yet though. The top part seems to be okay, but bottom part is definitely off and needs to come in quite a bit more. So the passenger side, I keep trimming just a little bit more off this. I'm gonna have to keep trimming a little bit more off still. I made another line, mainly because this glass is not overlapping this bar down into here enough, as you can see every time I push in on it. The other side's fine, and it is pretty much straight with this aft portion right here of this piece of steel. Just wanted to note something. So far, to make this fit around the tubes, I really haven't get an idea where we're at. That's the top surface right there. That's the sides. On this little notch here, I haven't touched any of that or up to around right in here somewhere. The only thing I've trimmed so far is off to the side. All I've trimmed so far. All right, went ahead and locked it in place here. Ended up trimming quite a bit back over on here and a little bit back over here on the passenger side, just so I could have enough beef on the glass to cover up this part right here. Put a blue piece of tape down here because I got to trim this windshield even with the edge of that black piece of steel in there. Well, I had some areas that didn't seat well. One was right over in here. It was sticking up maybe a 1/4 inch even. Then there's nothing I could do really to fix it. Along with this was kind of bowing out a little bit more than I wanted it to, not too bad. And what I end up doing is just a rough cut to almost a final cut on this and get it set in place up top. And what I ended up doing, because there's another area back over here not seating well up in here, what I ended up doing, and I'm going to show you because this is my last one I'm doing actually, I put a bunch of tape on here. This is bowing up pretty good. Along with right here, I got my heat gun, very carefully heated this up so it makes this very loose and pliable. And with this all taped up, went over it. I'm gonna let it cool down, pull the tape off, and it creates a nice curvature around here at that point. And there's a lot of tension where it sets up against the pole here. So I clamped it in place. Again, very carefully just use the heat, just so that kind of forms onto that a little bit better. And it is sort of a rough cut, but I'm pretty close to where I need to be with this as far as trimming it close to this metal. That's what I'm gonna do. I haven't drilled anything in it yet. I'm gonna go ahead and drill this top windshield first. I got it centered from left to right. I got the edges even with the rib. Went ahead and locked in 2 holes on this side and 2 holes on the other side back over there. And I drilled 4 3/8 from here to here and just spaced them all out. So I'm just going to keep doing that. I'm kind of heating it up with my heat gun just a little bit to keep it nice and warm. Anyway, so I'm going to keep heating that up, drilling with my Dole drill bit number 40. And then I go back with my sharper drill bit to go through the aluminum rib. All right, I went ahead and drilled into the trim piece here. Space these out, drill the holes, pre-drilled the holes in the metal, and then down with a really dull number 40 bit. This part does set a little proud from the resting on the skin. I may take a very slight bend into that, bend it down just a little bit. I'm not sure if you can actually appreciate that or not. It's not much. All right, drilling this piece, going down into my windshield. Heating the windshield up right where the hole is with my heat gun. Then just drilling with a dull bit, 40 size, until I contact this black spar going across here. And then I change over to a really sharp drill bit, number 40. Go through the steel. I'm just gonna leave it size 40 because of the size I need to drill it to. A Cleco probably wouldn't fit in there anymore. And now it's being held really nice, really tight. So while it's still everything's being held down pretty good, I'm gonna go ahead and put the side pieces on each side, get those drilled with probably size 40 Clecos, so everything will be set in place, and then I can start up drilling, maybe just taking everything off, up drilling to the appropriate size at that point, and then tap into my holes on my steel pieces at that point. All right, here's my trim piece. I marked out, I guess it's supposed to be 7. I put 6 holes up and down that. I used tape initially along with my hand to drill the middle hole here. Kind of pushed in that way, and that way at the same time. Got the trim piece on and holding the window down. I went ahead and put my door back on just to make sure that would all still fit fine, and it is a good fit up and down. Drilling the aft moonroof area, but putting popsicle sticks representing my cork, and just drilling straight down through the Lexan and then onto the little metal aluminum lip on the other side. And you can kind of see what that looks like right there. Don't give you much room, just that little lip there for a nut and bolt to go down. Since I have everything drilled like I want it, before I disassemble that entire thing and tap through the steel bars going that way and across, I decided I'm gonna go ahead and put the bubble doors here on my door frames. So this door fits so good right now, just the way it comes, other than having access right here on the back, but there's gonna be some trimming involved. I squared it up the best I could. I think what I'm gonna do is take from these holes for my gussets, I'm just gonna lock maybe 2 in each corner just in place. And then, so this glass will be set in place. All right, so what I end up doing, kind of an overview of what happened here. So I had the frame off, I set it on the table, put the bubble centered as I could, and I had drilled through my pre-existing holes where the gussets go, 2 in each corner. And what that created, once I put it on here, is the frame had shifted forward, where this front part right here was actually touching the inside of that, the rivet down the inside of that. So the frame was actually really just scraping up against the bottom of that. And I actually had to shift this whole thing aft, and I could barely squeeze it in at that point. So what I ended up doing is I took out the Clecos that were in these gusset holes and these gusset holes, and that allowed me to shift the frame, or relax the frame back to its normal position, where I had plenty of clearance down here. I was able to leave these top ones in, and as this glass was gently setting on here, I went ahead and just drilled a random hole right here, down here, over here, one over here, and I think that was it. And that locked it in place at that point. And now, I had to trim a little bit more glass off the front of that so it wouldn't scrape. Now I got a perfect fit though. This is how it was originally. Now you can see the holes right here, they shifted right there, and the back ones are the same. So on those 4 holes, I'm just gonna have a really, really big hole in and it's gonna be covered up with a gusset anyway, so nobody's gonna see it. But that was my solution, and drilling the rest of the holes now for around the glass. Once I get it off the table, I will eventually match drill these again, but now they'll be locked in place, so this shouldn't matter too much. All right, how I'm finding these holes now, what I'm doing is, here's my little arsenal. I'm heating it up with a heat gun for just a few seconds to get that nice and warm. That hole up there. Using this little bit here. Go in there to get the hole. Once I circle it, then I'll go back with one of these just to fine tune size 30. Then I put a cleco in there, and that's finding the center of the hole is pretty darn nice. So I installed this little bracket back. Then I just drilled a hole to the Lexan. So then it fit, this right there, fits in there nice. There is another little locking mechanism that goes on the inside of that. That'll have to be installed before the Lexan. The only other thing I have to do is put the pivoting point. These things have kind of rusted to keep the door up. Here's this one that goes on the fuselage, and I believe one of these probably go on the door itself. All right, this holds the cylinder that holds the door open. I went ahead and drilled size 40 in this piece of steel, and 40. There's 2 holes. I got my clamp covering the other one up. You can see some rust on it. I gotta protect that, then paint it and everything. But it didn't come with any holes pre-drilled in it, so I had to drill those 2 holes, drill those 2 holes, got it clamped in place. You pretty much butt up against this gusset is what the measurements come out to be. And I'm gonna go ahead and drill down into the frame with 40s, and then I'll go ahead and drill up to number 21 eventually. Installed the front latch system right there. That comes down there and goes like that. All there is to it. Then you can open it up. These windows, or doors I guess, come with this little black line around the perimeter of it. You might be able to scrub it with soap and water, maybe very light sandpaper, but anyway, I was doing something to one of the corners and got my sandpaper a little bit too involved in some of this area here. Even though it's gonna be covered up by a gusset, I was deciding to play around with what would actually polish that out. I went up to 3000 grit sandpaper, and it was still really hazy even with 3000. And I ended up going to actually Walmart, getting some of this plastic X and then this turtle rubbing compound. I had tried this ultimate polish to try to polish after the 3000 grit, just wasn't working. So this and that seemed to work really well for getting out my scratches that I made, or that haziness I made with the 3000 grit sandpaper. I have that. Then I already had these little buffering pads put on my drill to apply it, but I'm also using that rubbing compound to actually get the black line out there. Got the glass polished around the edges, and now I'm installing the rivets. You can see one of the rivets right there. Just these are the soft aluminum rivets going through there, and again I enlarged the holes on the plexiglass there, and got all my gussets in place, and yeah, just riveting away. All right, got the door handle mechanism in. I guess it goes back. If that's flying, then this you can undo it. The only thing I notice is that part right there is actually a little long. It hits the bottom of my seat. So you can kind of see down there that that's actually hitting right there, where it actually hits the bottom of that seat pan. So I may have to trim a little bit of that bottom part off, it looks like. All right, got both doors done. I got those stored inside the house in a safe place. And I took the windscreen back off. Thing I need to do now is tap into these bars here and across the top there. All right, test fit the windshield again. Up drilled all the holes, deburred everything. Went ahead and put my screws in to see how they would fit, and everything fit great. But all the other screws look great. take windshield everything back off and start working on my engine cowling. Okay, a little bonus clip here. Before I decided to do my engine cowling, I wanted to tweak. It always looked like my engine is pointing down just a little bit. I think we're good to -1 degree down, but I wanted it more level than that. So I remeasured our top level bar, or level bars here, before I riveted that little rib on there. So I leveled both sides, took the average of them because they were slightly off, and came out to, you know, whatever it was. And then I measured the level on my airplane engine, and that was exactly 1 degree down. Every once in a while I'd get 1.2 degrees down. And I wanted that more level with the airplane. So I got it to 0.3 degrees nose down compared to the level up there. Again, there's gonna be small variations, but 0.3 degrees, a lot closer to level. I also pointed the engine, I put 2 washers, or 1 washer on the left side behind the engine mount, in addition to lifting it up, just so I could go to the right just like by 1 washer. Maybe help counteract some torque. We'll see if that works. I don't think 1 washer is gonna hurt anything. And so what I end up doing is putting additional washers behind the engine, behind the engine mount, and the rubber mounts here. So I got 2 washers on this side on the bottom. And just for my future reference, I end up using a different bolt. I had to go to a size longer bolt on here. I used a AN6-40 for the passenger side bottom bolt. The pilot side bottom bolt, I end up putting 3 washers in between the engine mount and the rubber. And I end up having to use a 6-41 size bolt for that one. And then I put 1 washer on the top engine mount just up here, again, to give it a little bit of right angle there.